Welcome to another video. Today you've got Mr. Eveything English, and in today's video I want to talk about structure. Now recently on Instagram I put out a poll asking you guys, what do you want me to address? What topic shall I make videos on? And English language was a big request, especially structure. Now I want this video to address every single thing you need about structure. So firstly guys, in the exam, structure is worth 8 marks. And every single year the exam question is always the same. How has the writer used structure to interest the reader? Key part is, how does the writer use structure to interest the reader? If you're not speaking about interest, you're not answering the question. Now when looking at the marks, it's an 8-mark question. So you want to spend about 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, you want to write maximum 3 paragraphs. The structure I advise is PEI, point, evidence, infer. Infer is when you read between the lines. You look at what the writer is trying to say, not what the writer is saying. So for example, if I said John did some star jumps and twirls and ran around the classroom, we can infer that he's very happy. If John slammed the door shut, we can infer that he's quite angry. So guys, quick small recap. It's an 8-mark question, 10 marks, 3 paragraphs, and the question will always be, how has the writer structured the text to interest the reader? And that's the exam. Let's go over what are structural features. Now, when we look at language devices, you're taught that since year 7, since year 8, since year 6. Yeah, we get that a lot, similes, metaphors, and so on. But let's talk about the actual structural devices, other than long and short sentences. So girls and guys, the first structural device you can speak about is a shift in focus. This is when the writer goes from speaking about one thing to another thing. So for example, if I'm speaking about that tree over there, and then I shift my focus and speak about the car over there, I've gone from the tree to the car. That's a shift in focus. Second, may be introduction of a new character. So for example, the main character may be in the story talking about maybe an enemy, maybe a protagonist, maybe an antagonist. And at the point where we meet this new character, this is a structural feature because it creates interest. We finally meet the person that we've heard so much about. Next, from thought to action. If I see a cake and the cake looks delicious and I think I really want to eat that, and then I go and eat that, I've gone from thought to action. Next structural device I want you guys to focus on is flashback and foreshadowing. Flashback is when you go back in the past. So when the writer may go back 2 years, 3 months, 1 day, and talk about events that occurred previously. Foreshadowing is when the writer gives clues as to what may happen next. So for example, if the character in the stories, if their heart starts beating faster, or if they can hear footsteps, then it's foreshadowing that something is coming. Maybe something bad is about to happen. Next, we can talk about cyclical structure. This is when you almost go in a full circle, when the extract starts and ends in a similar mood, in a similar tone, with similar events. It doesn't have to be exact, but it could be similar. That's the key part. So for example, if the extract begins and the character is running because he or she is in danger, and it ends with them still being in danger, then you have a cyclical structure. Now I'll go on to the ones that are quite obvious. You've got long and short sentences. You've got repetition. If a particular word or phrase is repeated, why is it repeated? You've got long and short paragraphs. Now those were just a few structural features. Let's apply it, because it's all good talking about it, but let's see if we can actually apply it. Now, I'm using the source on the AQA website. I'm going to put the source up. It's the source on the website. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and we can hopefully go through it together. I'm going to read it, and as I'm reading it, I'm going to go through what I think are structural features that are worth talking about. We can't discuss every structural feature the same way we can't discuss every language device. The structural features that we pick out have to have interest, have to create interest. Alright guys, let's read. At the corner of Oxford Circus, Rosabelle bought a bunch of violets, and that was practically the reason why she had so little tea. For a scone and a boiled egg and a cup of cocoa are not sufficient after a hard day's work in a hat shop. As she swung onto the step of the bus, grabbed her skirt with one hand and clung to the railing with the other. Rosabel thought she would have sacrificed her soul for a good dinner, something hot and filling. Think about what structural device you can find there. If this was my essay and my answer, the structural device that I will pick out and discuss in my writing for my first paragraph would be how we've gone from her actions to her thought, to what she's thinking. So her actions are, she's coming on the bus, she's grabbing her skirt, she's moving onto the bus. But then there's a quick shift. You could even argue the shift in focus, but there's a quick shift where we go from what she's doing to what she's thinking. And what is she thinking? She's thinking how she would love to have a nice dinner. Why is that interesting? It's interesting because it instantly reveals how our main character, Rosabel, is struggling in some way. The fact that she's thinking about a nice meal, the fact that she's thinking about strong and filling, and the fact that she's sacrificed her soul for this, it shows you how much she wants it. And by the writer shifting the focus of this while she's on the bus, it shows you how much she wants it. It's like me sitting in a room full of people, but my mind is elsewhere. I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do when I go home. It obviously shows that I don't care what's happening around me. I'm more bothered about what I'm thinking about, which is what I'm doing later. Same thing for Rosabel. Her mind isn't on the bus. Her mind isn't on her skirt and what she's doing with it. Her mind is filling her stomach. Her mind is in having some food. Therefore, it creates interest because it shows us how much she is struggling, how much she is suffering, how much she needs the food. And this is all done through a structured analysis, not language. We are not speaking about similes, we are not speaking about verbs, we are speaking about the shift from her actions to her thoughts. That's one. Let's try doing one more. Rosabel looked out of the windows. We can already tell that there's about to be a shift in focus because she's looking out of the window. The writer is prompting us that she's about to shift the focus to what's happening outside. Rosabel looked out of the windows. The street was blurry and misty, but light striking on the panes turned their dullness into opal and silver, and the jeweller's shops seen through this were fairy palaces. Okay, this is a massive shift in focus. This shift in focus, it almost creates interest because it creates a false sense of reality. She looks out of the bus. Life in the bus isn't bright. Life in the bus is dull. Life out of the bus is also dull. But the light hitting shifts it to being quite beautiful, where things look like fairy palaces. So guys, look, you've got an obvious shift in focus. It's as though the shift in focus tells us what Rosabel wants to see, not what she actually sees. Again, emphasizing her struggle. Again, emphasizing how she's almost yearning for a better life. And this is all done through structure. The first device, well, from her actions to her thought. The second one is a shift in focus, where we go from in the bus to outside the bus. And that's where we learn how Rosabel is almost having a false sense of reality because she wants it so bad. Now that would be my first paragraph. That could possibly be my second paragraph. Look, we're only on line 6 or 7. I don't want to take all my answers from the first 7 lines. The question says, how has the writer structured the text to interest you as a reader? You want to make sure you're speaking about the whole text. So take 1 point from the first 2 paragraphs, 1 point from the middle, and 1 point from the end. That's how you answer question 3. That's how you answer the structure question. Now, in a later video, I think what's worth doing is me producing some exemplar answers or writing up some answers with you guys. But if you're revising and your exams are far away, open a text, open sources, and see how many structural features you can pick out and see how you can explain how they are interesting. Then pick out the best 3 and try to produce a paragraph or 3 paragraphs on them in 10 minutes. Now that's everything you must know about structure. I've been through the timings, the marks, the question, the structured features, and how to pick them out. Next is application. So please go away and practice some of these questions. If you have any questions, if you have any requests, if there's anything you want me to address, drop me a DM, drop me a message, Instagram, YouTube, and I will get it done. In Easter, so from April the 14th till May the 14th, I'll be doing daily uploads. So please let me know what content you need for your exams, and I will try my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching. It's been Mr. Eveything English.